Hello YouTube. Bane666 here. You have probably noticed that my face is somewhat hairier than usual. Would you like to guess why? Is it 1. Bane is going to star in a 70s style porn movie? Or 2. A mutated merkin has parasitically attached itself to my upper lip? Or 3. I'm promoting Movember? Drumroll please. And the answer is...
My favourite moustache is, I guess, the one I'm rocking now. This is my go-to. It's very 80s porn. My name is Adam Garoni. I'm CEO and one of the co-founders of Movember, the month formerly known as November, where we get men to grow moustaches to raise awareness and funds for men's health, specifically prostate cancer. Essentially, I'm a moustache farmer, and our season is November. In Australia, Mo is slang for moustache. Movember started in a really non-traditional way, but in a very traditional Australian way. It was over beers on a Sunday afternoon with my brother and another mate, and they were talking about 70s fashion and how everything comes back into style, and the conversation turned to, you know, what hasn't come back and whatever happened to the moustache. And the day ended with a challenge to bring back the moustache. Let's choose November, rename it Movember, and create the basic rules, which start the month clean shaven, grow a moustache for 30 days, and raise awareness and funds. It really is a grassroots movement. You know, at its heart, it is a little bit rebellious, and a lot of guys do Movember to annoy their girlfriends, to annoy their bosses, and it's validated because they're doing it for a good cause.
That's right, it's Movember. Links below, please go check it out and take part. And shame on all of you who thought I was going to star in a 70s style porno. Although rumor has it that an MRA from YouTube has made a 70s porno with a very well-known YouTube feminist. Something called The Cavity Inspector. Anyway, moving on. The next couple of weeks are going to be busy for me folks, so don't expect any new videos until late November or early December. But don't stress, I'll be back after taking a short break from soaking my skull in poison Kool-Aid. I still haven't completed the question and answer video, sorry about that. I was hoping to have it done before the start of November, so I will try to get it completed in December. I've also got to complete part 2 of Alien Vagina Dentata and Rorschach Mental Deviancy, and of course, there will be some new episodes of The Propaganda of Toxic Feminism. Not to mention, some new things, so lots to look forward to in the lead up to Christmas. But since you won't have any new videos from me for the next 3 or so weeks, I'm going to recommend 3 YouTube channels for you, and give you some previews. 2 of these channels have been around longer than I have, and the other is relatively new. All are great, so you should check them out and subscribe. As always, link below. Oh, and by the way, you really should stick around until the end, trust me.
You should be sending me a fucking thank you note.
Attention citizen persons, this is an Atheism Plus social justice update. As many of you know, public access celebrity and double plus-size Anton LaVey impersonator Matt Dillahunty has been found guilty in absentia of crimes against humanity with malice aforethought and being a big meanie after he engaged in unauthorized experiments on the conduct of moderators and minions on the Atheism Plus forum, resulting in the violent psychological rape of foreign members and contagious mass hysterical butthurt. As you know, the forums are the floating fortress of the Atheism Plus vanguard, dedicated to changing society down to the hard wiring of the human brain, one Me Too keystroke at a time. And so Matt Dillahunty has been sent for rest, recuperation, and re-education in a wooded location. We wish Matt all the best, and remind Atheism Plus members, out of respect for Matt, to never, ever mention his name again. The Atheism Plus program of taking it to the streets, striking a blow for the oppressed, and generally sticking it to the man continues, as seen here. In the past week, Atheism Plus has seen a 120% increase in discussion of rape, including rape, metaphorical rape, elevator rape, and rapity-rape. In addition, thanks to the glorious principles of Atheism Plus, all discussions of social injustice, including social class, gender, capital punishment, war, genocide, child soldiers, and so on, have been folded into discussions by a dozen or so bloggers about their vagina. What it is, what it does, whether expecting springtime freshness is sexist, who has access to it, who gets it, and why not you, cowboy? Atheism Plus is also taking a proactive position on protection of wildlife with Operation Save the Baby Otters. Thanks to the glorious Atheism Plus revolution, protection of baby otters is up 50% from the same time last month, when it was 0. Atheism Plus recognizes that baby otters are cute and cuddly and have an inherent right to exist. Except for boy baby otters who are misogynistic little bastards and potential otter rapists. Therefore, Atheism Plus Save the Baby Otters calls the herd of sexist, rapist baby otters by wringing their little necks shortly after birth. Here we see some Atheism Plus lipo warriors taking the same philosophy to the human population by culling the herd of potential human rapists chosen at random, then setting fire to their homes under the suspicion that these potential rapists may have been stockpiling the potential rape drug coffee. For situations where it's impractical to send in the legion of Atheism Plus disposable males known as the battling neckbeards, or where direct confrontation with the forces of misogyny, women hate, and the phallocentric gaze are unadvisable, the Atheism Plus Advanced Research Project Division has rolled out the new automated battle vagina, ready to be brought into action at a moment's notice. Using anarcho-feminist theory as the basics for advanced gyno-engineering, and advanced materials such as papier-mâché, the battle vagina deploys a withering barrage of robotic caterpillars based on prototypes graciously provided by Division Director Greta Christina.
The attitude of those at least trying to winterize the camp was willful cluelessness. But at least they meant well. Fortunately, the completely clueless weren't the ones in charge. That was left to the con artists. What quickly put me off about Occupy DC was the overt class system. You had two sorts of people. Holding down the fort were homeless men who had nowhere else to go. Then you had the activist elite that would blow in, talk useless shit, and tell people to check their privilege, and then fuck off to someone's loft. The hierarchy even expressed itself in how people got gold stars for activism by getting themselves arrested blocking traffic on K Street, which inconvenienced no one actually plotting evil in the buildings on K Street. However, many blows were struck against the tyranny of mothers attempting to pick up their kids from daycare. It was pretty much established that by being a prick, you could get a night in jail and pay a $100 fine. Something the activist elite bragged about, apparently unaware and not giving a shit that a great number of people maintaining the physical presence of the occupied camps didn't have $100 to burn in a meaningless and mostly annoying gesture. As winter approached and everyone who wasn't one of the elite fucking off to places warm and dry was due for a lot of hurt, it then became clear that the most pressing issue was the phenomena now codified as Mykerumedia law, which states, as any progressive movement grows and achieves success, the probability of it being co-opted by women who want to make it all about their vagina approaches 1. Remember the two-tiered justice system, income inequality, and the banking and mortgage crisis? Maybe you do, but they didn't. The most pressing problem at Occupy in Vancouver, according to articles published by Sacha Wiley Shaw, is, not surprisingly, misogyny, and slut-shaming. Seriously. One homeless guy at Occupy DC got into a snit because he had helped tarp over a bunch of tents, but was now going to be evicted because a group of women decided that this was going to be a women's space. And after he did his part, and thanks so much, his presence was no longer desired. I can only assume he was supposed to throw himself under a nice, warm bus. You probably already know that the more he complained about that injustice, the more he was a threat. That was just one example of what was a form of vaginal eminent domain. Directly behind my tent, women started building on pallets to make another women-friendly structure, but at least they had the decency to directly, loudly, and categorically reject any male help in this enterprise whatsoever, except for some ideologically excusable heavy lifting at the outset. I spent one happy afternoon watching them doing it wrong, which isn't a reflection on the nesting acumen of women in general, just this a lot. And it's sad I have to go out of my way to make that point. I watched them lovingly stuff the spaces between the slats in pallets with crumbled newspaper and whatever else they could find, ostensibly as insulation. As you might imagine, this later gave rise to one of the most thriving rat communities, complete with a rat Montessori school, rat high, and a bingo hall.
There's one powerful strategy that feminist activists rely on, more than any other. That's the victim complex. It's not just a narrative or a paradigm. It's really a hybrid of both. It's part theory, part emotion, and part blind ignorance. But it's also very simple and easy to spot. And it's an entity unto itself. This is the heart and soul of what is destructive and divisive about feminism. And we need to neutralize it somehow. I see it as a two-stage process. Stage 1, claim victimhood. Claim that a female has been harmed or exploited or humiliated in some way. Stage 2, demonize dissent. Dismiss all claims to the contrary as being part of the same problem. With this victim complex, feminists are able to bypass our rational faculties. This means that common sense and evidence are kept out of the discourse. The question is, how to best interject some reality back into the discussion. Here's an example of the victim complex at work. Let's say that a man and a woman have a fun, romantic night out. They drink together and they have sex. That's a very boring, normal-sounding situation. There's nothing for busybodies to do with that. So let's make it more fun with a victim narrative. Let's ignore everything else about the story and just focus on how the female might have been exploited. Let's claim that she was a victim of rape. She was intoxicated after all, and therefore, she couldn't consent to sex. But she also had sex with a man. Therefore, she is a rape victim. Okay, now I'm satisfied, and I can be 100% sure that she's a rape victim. And obviously, only an idiot would doubt this. So now it's time to deal with all the objections that come from those stubborn misogynists and rape supporters. You know, the people who use common sense and have the capacity to ask reasonable questions. Objection number 1. Well, what about the man? Wasn't he just as intoxicated? Objection dismissed. That is so wrong. Rape is still rape, whether the rapist is intoxicated or not. It makes no difference how intoxicated the rapist is. We still need to hold the rapist accountable. Drinking doesn't give someone a license to rape. There's no excuse for raping someone, and on and on and on. Objection number 2. But didn't she freely choose to drink? Objection dismissed. Just because she decided to drink doesn't mean that she deserved to be raped. Drinking is not to be confused with asking to be raped. How ridiculous. That's victim blaming. It's part of rape culture, and on and on and on. Objection number 3. But didn't she have a good time? Objection dismissed. That's how a rapist thinks. Rapists think that women enjoy being raped. It's a common myth that women enjoy being raped. Gee, it's amazing how many people will try to excuse rapists. So many people try to blame victims. Lots of people promote rape. Why does everybody disagree with me? What's wrong with the culture? What you see here is the systematic dismissal of opposing views, and it's something known more generally as inoculation. And as a secondary effect, it's also creating a straw man out of the opposition. It works in much the same way as the inoculation that protects your immune system from dangerous viruses. They, feminists, preemptively introduce their flock to the most common objections to their own ridiculous ideas. But they twist and misrepresent these objections so that their indoctrinated flock will be better prepared to reject and dismiss them without any hesitation. Part of the reason that these objections are so easily dismissed is because their mind has already been made up. They have already decided that a woman has been victimized, and that's the assumption that needs to be explicitly challenged. These weakened counterarguments are then viewed as part of the rape culture. Rape culture is the label assigned to this inoculation dosage. They are literally trained to recognize and dismiss common objections as belonging to rape culture.
Hi there. I'm a man. I don't always talk, I don't always listen, but I do make sure to take the time to sit and think to myself every now and then. When it comes to gender issues, I have opinions, but I know that my opinions are considered dangerous. So, the less I say, the safer I am. I don't agree with so-called conventional wisdom, or with what passes for feminist wisdom in this day and age. And if I speak my mind, I know that I'm making myself a target. I feel like I have nothing to gain and everything to lose by expressing myself. A male perspective on gender issues is almost never heard, and I'm part of the reason for that. I would really appreciate the opportunity to speak my mind, though, without being judged by women or feminist ideologues. Is there some place that I can go where my perspective is actually welcome?
Today, we are launching a campaign called HeForShe. I am reaching out to you because we need your help. We want to end gender inequality. And to do this, we need everyone involved.
On the one hand, gender equality sounds like a fair-minded and noble objective. But then why call it HeForShe? That just sounds like men helping women out. That sounds exactly like the traditional definition of masculinity. Men's traditional role as the provider and the protector. To provide for women and to protect women. How is that traditional thinking supposed to promote equality? I think that I can tell you what the biggest obstacle to gender equality is. And it has nothing to do with men not wanting to help women out. Do you want to hear it? Because here it is. Men do not want to help weak, dependent men. And women do not want to help strong, independent women.
This is the first campaign of its kind at the UN. We want to try and galvanize as many men and boys as possible to be advocates for change. And we don't just want to talk about it. We want to try and make sure that it's tangible.
Recruiting men to help women. Now that's a piece of cake. Recruiting men to help other men, though, that's going to be a challenge.
Hello YouTube, my name is James Alexander, or, for the purpose of these videos, Thorium. As this is my first video on the subject of feminism and the treatment of men in Western societies, it seemed appropriate to explain my intentions.
These so-called men's rights groups are actually hate groups. No hate speech on
Number 1. Promote the need for discourse on the matter of men's rights. In 2011, Housing Charity Crisis reported that 84% of the hidden homeless were male, while the latest Homeless Link figures suggest that 9 out of 10 people sleeping rough are male. Women are invariably given preferential treatment in deciding which parent should be granted custody of their children, irrespective of the evidence. Female infant genital mutilation is, rightly, illegal and socially unacceptable. Male infant genital mutilation, however, is both legal and socially acceptable. According to a Guardian report from the 7th of May, 2013, 29% of male first-time offenders were sentenced to custody. For women, that figure was 17%. Men have a 62% chance of being bailed, while for women that figure is 80%, and on average men serve 53% of their sentence but women serve 5% less than that. Domestic abuse is seldom seen as a male issue. A recent report carried out by the Office for National Statistics found that 3.4% of married women had reported a case of domestic abuse during the previous year, the proportion of men, 3.4%, and yet, according to Mankind Initiative, there are only 33 spaces in the UK dedicated to male victims of domestic violence, compared to around 4,000 spaces reserved for females. Finally, women's rights are among the most well-funded and supported civil movements in the Western world. The nascent men's rights movement, on the other hand, is lambasted as misogynistic, receiving little or no support from outside its own ranks.
These so-called men's rights groups are actually hate groups. No hate speech on.
Let us now take a gander at what the world's worst and dimmest have to say regarding the need for feminism. I need feminism so that I can battle with boardroom big dogs when I'm CEO. I think what you meant to say was, I need feminism so that gender quotas give me an advantage over male peers. I need feminism because I love men. If you truly love men, as you claim, then feminism may not be the ideology for you. I need feminism because my gender studies degree is just as valid as anyone else's degree. What utter tosh. While I take no pleasure in bursting the fairy tale bubble in which you clearly live, you must understand, not every degree is of equal worth. Far from it. Engineering is a clear and useful application, whereas philosophy is pure academia. It is of importance, but lacks any application bar the scholastic. Chemistry has a clear and useful application, whereas gender studies provides intellectually challenged, budding social justice warriors with the means of wasting their parents' money, and their own time, uninnistically nurturing a sense of entitlement to a lifestyle ordinarily afforded to those who understand the notion of earning their lot. Earning. Gender studies is of little importance, and lacks any application at all, with the exception of giving TEDx talks. Idiot. I need feminism because it gives me hope. Gives you hope for what? A world in which women enjoy impunity from blame, a world in which gender discrimination against men is acceptable, a world in which, in lieu of meritocracy, gender quotas determine employment choices. Do you know what else appears to give people hope? Religion, and we all know how that's worked out for humanity. I need feminism because I shouldn't feel uncomfortable eating in front of people. What the fuck does that have to do with feminism? If you feel uncomfortable eating in front of people, then you may have an eating disorder, either that, or you are slightly overweight and are therefore self-conscious when eating. Again, what the fuck is feminism going to do to help you with that? Do you think feminism is going to purge the world of all skinny women? Who the fuck do you think runs the glossy magazines that have given you this complex? Men? No. May I suggest visiting a cognitive behavioral therapist, or a gym? Don't simply whine and expect everyone else to sort your problems out for you. I need feminism because I haven't been living under a fucking rock all my life. Indeed, you look as though you have been living in a Siberian forced labor camp all your life, smashing said rocks with a blunt, rusty pickaxe. Now that you have been granted your freedom and been reintroduced into society, allow me to update you on feminism's recent goings-on.
Fucking lying there, you fucking dipshit. That is not what a fetus looks like, okay? It's a clump of cells at 12 weeks. It does not look like that. It's a clump of motherfucking cells. No hands are shown for that time. You're just a white fucking privileged racist fucking male that doesn't stand for women's rights. Get the fuck out of here, fucking dipshit, and get that camera out of my face, either. Fuckwit.
I want to call the police.
Fuck you.
I need feminism because, if you honk, I might fall off my bike. It is the year 2016. Car horns have been abolished following a successful campaign by the Feminist Bike Riders Association, Cyclists United for Nicer Treatment, better known as CUNT. In the 4 months since legislation was passed prohibiting the use of car horns, we have seen an 87.2% decrease in the number of verbal assault cases targeting cyclists. Correspondingly, there has been a 148.6% increase in the number of accidents involving cyclists and motorists, due to the inability of the latter to make their presence known. The alarming number of injuries and deaths resulting from their "don't beep your horn at me, I'm very sensitive" Act of 2016 has been dismissed by CUNT, who had this to say: injuries and death are all good and well, but at least their feelings aren't being hurt. I need feminism because people still ask what the victim was wearing. No shit, does the concept of collecting evidence, or judging an event based on the information available mean anything to you? I didn't think so. Presumably, you prefer to rely on preconceptions or female intuition when it comes to crime. For example, if a woman wearing a burqa were to be assaulted, do you not think that may have some relevance? If a man wearing a Nazi-era German uniform complete with swastika were to be assaulted, do you not think that might have some bearing on the incident? You are, however, referring implicitly to the sexual assault of a woman who, we presume, was wearing revealing and/or suggestive clothing. I will not make any attempt to justify or mitigate what is clearly an abhorrent act. Indeed, nobody is. But are you suggesting that women should take absolutely no responsibility in the matter? Perhaps this next femme fatally misinformed will provide us with an answer. I need feminism because society teaches us don't get raped rather than don't rape. So, the answer to my question, are you suggesting that women should take absolutely no responsibility in the matter, was a resounding yes. Is this half-wit really suggesting that society doesn't actively dissuade people from raping others? The innate willingness of most human beings to not transgress moral and ethical boundaries aside, there are laws prohibiting rape, very strict and clearly defined laws at that. Understand this, feminists. Men do not have to be taught not to rape, for that implies that men, by nature, want to rape and would do so given the opportunity. Fuck you.
Where do you want to go?
Woman must pay.
You look uncomfortable. Are you okay?
Pay. rape, pussy, boobs.
Do you want me to keep going?
So good.
Are you enjoying yourself?
So good.
How does that feel?
So good.
Do you like that?
Pussy, boobs.
Yes, please.
Bust. Shit.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that feels so good.
So good.
Keep going. Yeah, right there. Why, yes, I would like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man, that feels so good.
So good.